Dead Man's Tale, a new exotic scout rifle from Tex Mehcanica, and a brand new exotic quest available as of reset, which was Tuesday earlier this week. I believe Tuesday not the 14th, that's Sunday. Some date that's a Tuesday. But either way, it is available in the game from a short yet difficult exotic quest if you're not the most savvy for mazes, puzzles, and single combat. Essentially, this is another Hawkmoon, because this is transformative, and after the first run, you can earn various random rolled versions of this rifle. To start it, you would go to your director and to the EDZ and visit the Strike the Arms Dealer. Launch that, and even though it is Nightfall this week, it is recommended that you use the menu just because Nightfall will not always be Brachus-san. It is recommended that when you actually launch into the mission, you do not carry on as normal, as the essentially way to start this is not at all any far in the strike. It is pretty much in the very beginning. So instead of doing as you would normally act and scanning the terminal and going outside, you would actually take a door that is usually closed, and you'll see up and coming. So like I said, you would spawn in and run forward as normal, and you would take out these enemies up here, but instead of going forward and acting as usual, you would take a right turn right through those doors that are now open. These were available from various campaign missions, but since this isn't a campaign mission, you need to go through here. Be warned, there is a lot of yellow bar Scorpius turrets, that actually are pretty dang annoying considering how many they are in numbers, because there are definitely plenty of them scattered. But just persevere and get through it, and then eventually you will be fighting a boss phalanx that is pretty tanky as well. But that is pretty much all you need to do here. So once you get outside, you will encounter the boss phalanx, who is much more tanky in terms of dropping his shield than other characters. Basically, just throw whatever you can at him, whether it's breaking his shield or sticking rockets to him via an lasting impression rocket launcher. But take it slow, and it shouldn't be much of a problem at all. So after successfully dispatching the phalanx, there should be a prompt to go over and scan a device. Whether or not you go from the front or back, because both don't matter, you can activate the beacon, which, after this step, you are done with Brachus-san, so if you do not wish to stay, you can leave as you wish. After you talk to Zavala, the new exotic quest Presage will be available from the menu in the Tangled Shore, in the Reef. So, this is 1 to 3 players. It is essentially another Harbinger mission, not yet Prestige, it is basic now, but it is totally capable of doing solo. It is not as difficult as a dungeon, so if you don't have anybody to help you, it is totally possible. Not too difficult. It is a little bit light switched. It swords the whole way around, but it is not too difficult. If you persevere long enough, you will be able to finish it and earn your brand new rifle with some amazing world design with this new mission. After a brief intro cinematic into this new mission, you'll be faced with a door at the end of the ramp. Ignore this, as this does not open just yet. Instead, look to the left and you will find some ledges out in open space. Just jump along these paths until you reach the entrance. Unfortunately, if you do not have lion rampants or stompies, this is not too difficult and can be done with just a normal movement. The pathway is mostly linear going forward, but if in case you get stuck in this room, you need to look to behind these pipes and you'll find a grate that is completely destructible, shooting or punching, however you prefer. After shooting out a grate and dropping to the floor, you will enter this room, which will open up the door to the front. So if you have a person on your fire team who just isn't the best at jumping, you can open the door for them and let them in. Otherwise, look to the left and you will find a door that with a glowing wall in front of it that burns when you touch it. Don't do that. Instead, break the spores next to it and you'll get a buff called Egregore Link. This allows you to pass through the walls without harming you in the slightest. Of course, once you're in the room, you need to get out since all the doors are blocked. Look up. and jump on these pipes, and you will find another destructible door. After doing some crawling in the tunnels, jumping upwards, and then sliding through a hole down, you will be in this room with an electric wall beside it. Now, do not jump across the gap at first because there is an egregore wall on the other side of the way. So you need a spore. To start that spore, you would need to go through this room and clear out the screebs as they show up. After dispatching the screebs, walk to the end of this room and go behind this little wall. You will find a lever that you will need to activate to progress forward. After returning to the main room, you will see this door has opened with another egregore spore. Break it, and then jump across the gap. Once you pass through these doors, you do not need to worry about running out of time, as with most of this whole mission, you only need to pass through once, and then you can ignore the link from there. Of course, screebs you cannot ignore. After jumping up and continuing forward, if you turn around, you will notice there is another egregore spore. That is if you so wish to return to where you came from, if somebody's struggling your fire team, but if you're otherwise solo, you need to just turn around, jump across the gap, and be introduced to a new form of puzzle. Fuses. These fuses, when broken, some are temporary, some are permanent breaks, but they will provide access to various other things. In this case, this grate opens up and you can proceed forward. Of course, you still have to deal with more screebs. After dispatching the screebs again, you will enter another room that looks like this. Don't go immediately forward. Instead, turn around and jump on the ledge behind you. There will be another switch hidden behind these pipes that you will want to flip. After flipping that one, go to the other end of the room and exit the room and jump across this gap. This will show you the next switch that you have to flip to continue forward. Of course, after you hit this one, you'll have to jump back across. A lot of back and forth with this one. But once you get across and go to the last room, you will find a door under here, now open, with a brand new fuse to break, which will lead to the trap room. After entering the door and sliding into this room, you will be faced with a trash compactor scenario. If you do not know what that means, the walls steadily close in on you until you are crushed. Do not worry, if you die, it is made easier for you the second time around to complete. To start, you would pull that lever, but what you need to do is pay attention to the floor. Because as the walls close in, this floor spreads out that expose destructible grates that you need to break to find 3 fuses. After you break the 3 fuses, the walls will stop closing in on you, and a grate will be marked for exit. Of course, it is made difficult the first time because there are screebs coming at you the entire time. Of course, if you want to just focus, the screebs will not be around second run if you die. If you were unfortunately taken out during your first attempt, be careful not to enter too quickly, as the crusher is still going and can totally kill you a second time. Just patiently wait until you either see it or hear it not going anymore. After breaking the last fuse, you will find a grate marked with blinking lights. Use this to exit the room. And of course, travel forward in a linear path that you should not be lost in. After dropping down a hole, you will find the first combat section that is a darkness zone, but it is checkpointed, of course, so if you do die, do not worry. After clearing out the first wave, you'll proceed forward through the door on the opposite end of the room that will lead you through some more corridors that will lead to the second combat section immediately following. The goal of this is to kill 2 abominations, but of course, just take it slow, kill all the ads and the chieftains, and this shouldn't be too much of a problem. After clearing out the enemies, you will be in an empty hangar. You will see flashing lights marking the path forward. Of course, this is only temporary spacewalk. As it brings you inside, you will want to jump on top of this Cabal ship and make your way forward through the door at the top left of the room. After continuing through more linear corridors, you'll find yourself in this room, another one of the puzzles. To start going forward through it, you'll want to activate this switch, and it will open up a link to get through the spore walls through that door. Once you deal with more screams that spawn in this room, you're going to want to take a look around because this is another puzzle. You will see a arc wall up there that will kill you if you touch it, but instead of doing that, flip this switch. It will open up a fuse on the opposite end of the room from the switch. Now, break that fuse as it is a temporary one. It will allow you to get through the arc wall and activate the next two switches. One to activate the door, one to get out. The door that just opened is another egregore spore. Break it to continue forward. Once you kill the enemies that are in this room, you'll want to walk to the opposite end of the room and then flip this switch. Of course, do not go through there, as that is a trap meant to kill people who are exploring the puzzle and trying to proceed forward. Instead, turn around and jump down this ledge and deal with the Scorpius turret in here. This will allow you to break the fuse right here that opens up the next spore in the other corner. After going through the hole, you will enter what is known as the maze. You can ignore the single grades like that. Instead, find the ones that are double-sided like this. Of course, be cautious going through here as there are random screams behind the doors you need to progress through. From the starting room, to proceed forward, looking at the ramp you jumped down from, go to the right, and you will find the spore. Break it, and go immediately across, and then the first left possible here. This will allow you to go through the wall here, and flip the switch to both get out and continue forward. Once you're back in this room, you'll need to use the spore again to get out through this way. Continuing forward, you will find another small combat section, but this is not checkpointed, it is just some random enemies to go through. After dealing with what enemies and abominations there are, go to the opposite end of the room, right next to the egregore wall. You will find a switch across from it that, when flipped, will allow you to go behind these pipes and break this fuse. That will open up the walls over in this direction that will allow you to continue forward with more spores. Which brings us to our final puzzle. After going through the door, you will be at the final puzzle that I would recommend going across, just in case, because there are some enemies lined about and you will need some speed to do this correctly. Now, once you reach towards the end and dispatch all of your enemies, you'll want to be careful because once you flip this switch, it'll open a door with the Scorpius turret. Of course, there is nothing in there, you just need to kill it so you don't get killed. Now, going backwards, just one platform, you'll notice a fuse across from you that needs to be broken. Once you do that, it will open up this door, which gives us our checkpoint. There are spores behind this wall that we need to get to continue forward. Now, this is where the timed portion I mentioned comes into play. You need to go back to the start and the link. And you need to race towards the second wall to get a egregore refresh to make it all the way through. After you enter this room, you'll want to flip this switch so that a wall opens up and a spore is closer to the wall, so your friends who are accompanying you hopefully don't have to do the time trial if they mess it up. Otherwise, rally to this flag, and then you're ready to start your next boss fight. This will entertain a lot of burst damage. Of course, if you're doing it solo, there will be a few enemies to have to deal with, so you want to take it very cautiously. To enter, break a spore and enter. Once you drop in, you will have the Locus of Communion right across from you that you'll want to deal with a quick amount of damage to get rid of him as fast as possible. Careful though, he does indeed hurt. After he disappears, deal with the wave of incoming enemies as you please. After you've killed the 3 chieftains and the ensuing stalkers that spawn out of it, looking at the room like this, there will be 3 switches you need to hit. One on the left, one on the right, and one in a room that will burn you alive if you don't save for last. After deactivating the last switch, you can enter the arena from 3 places. One on the left, one on the right, and one behind you. I'd recommend going for the left or right first, because the Hangman Imitator is likely by that first one, or the middle one, every time. Unless he teleports. After you do enough damage to him, it will start burning down there again, and you'll need to get out of there the way you came in. And that is the boss fight. You repeat that 2 more times. Not essentially thunder crashing, but essentially the same thing. After eventually killing the boss, you will return upstairs, and you will find a waypoint to a door that is now opened. Continue through this to collect your new exotic. Once you reach this room and you find our guardian, who was Callus's plaything, strung up, and you'll receive some dialogue from Osiris, but you are also prompted to steal your new rifle. After that, you are given some dialogue, and eventually, after mission complete, it will tell you to return to Zavala, who will then give you the rifle, but of course, immediately after, if you want to relaunch this mission and do it again, you can earn a random rolled version of Dead Man's Tale. To show, this is the version you will get the first time. After that, you will get something else. In this case, something completely different that came with Outlaw, and it does have a catalyst, but I'm assuming since this is like Hawkmoon, it is not available until Master. Upon Master completion, you will earn it. Now, if you enjoyed the video or you learned this benefited you in any way, a like, share, subscribe would be definitely appreciated, as this video took a lot longer to make, and it was a lot more of a headache, but I still made it just because this is a cool exotic. It is definitely a unique one, as we only have a total of 3 Tex Mehcanica weapons officially in Destiny 2. We have the Last Word, we have Prospector, and we have this one. Now, of course, there are... Oh, we also have Huckleberry. So, actually, let me correct myself. There's technically 5, because I also forgot Zen Meteor was technically 1. But other than this being one of 5 specific Tex Mehcanica weapons, it is a beautiful rifle. It performs so well. It just feels good. And it is worth getting regardless of whether or not you like scouts. Now, my name is Mad Scorpion, and I will see you in the next video.